Hello my friends, welcome back for more of our walkthrough of Oxygen Not Included Space Game. I am Magnet. Let's just pick up where we were at last time, which is getting our oxygen off of this polluted water gas off, which again is totally fine to be on for a long time, but now we won't need to run our sand here. We kind of don't even really need to pay attention to it anymore, because our setup is ready to go. Our cooling is good. I did add a second aqua tuner here, by the way, because I will need one more line of cooling before we start heading up into the space biome. So, what we have here is our setup is entirely done. I just have these venting into my base in a handful of places. And I'm spreading the vents out a little bit just so that I do get good pressure distribution. I also really want it in the center column to hopefully keep this more pressurized so I can keep pushing stuff down to be vented out, like carbon dioxide and chlorine and that kind of stuff that I don't need. So yeah, looks like we're good. This is not running yet though, so let's go ahead and turn it on. So first I'm going to close the door because I don't really want it to be messing up with any of the pressure outside. I'm going to turn on my pumps first, and then I'll turn on the actual electrolyzers next. And there you go. It's pretty much working as intended. I did rebuild this, by the way, just because it looks so bad. I also had the wrong gates on there when I was doing this, so I must have been really tired when doing the last episode or something, but we're good to go now. So now we're producing this all off of our own water sources, and we should be good. So there you go. Also, we have no need for this other cooling system anymore because the rest of the cooling is up and running. So I have a bunch of lines that are running out to different places. This is going to be cooling this area with my steam turbines. This is cooling the oxygen, obviously, like we just set up. This is cooling my food, so that's kind of rebuilt. And we're waiting for the game to load, which is just going to happen as we get further and further along. This is cooling out my power. Then I have one more line that I'm going to be using for cooling. And that's going to be for this hydrogen vent over here, which we can confirm is this by just using the exclamation point, so there you go. Alright, this hydrogen vent is going to be pretty much the last power source that I want to grab before we go. So, let's start getting it. Like usual, this is going to vent hydrogen at a very high temperature, so I first want to see if this thing is active or dormant right now. Let me get this out of the way too. We don't need that. We'll move it after we get everything else set up. And the reason I want to check this is because the hydrogen that's going to come out of here is going to be absurdly hot. Okay, no, this is idle, so I'll need to dig this up last. So let's set up our setup here. Let's set up our setup. I have clearly a great vocabulary, as you can tell. And we'll get all this stuff running. So for hydrogen, you're going to want to basically set up a room that's going to have insulated tile bordering it. So something like this. We're going to put a pump over here, which is going to need to be made out of steel. And the first thing that we need to do is we need to cool this hydrogen before it starts going anywhere else, because it's going to be way too hot. So again, one of the things we're going to be using to cool this is going to be some steam turbines and steam. So the first thing we need to do is set up something to where our steam turbines are going to sit, which is probably going to be up here. So something like this. We'll just leave enough space for it. Then we're going to need some metal tiles so that the heat of the hydrogen is shared with the water / steam that's about to be created from it. And then we need to encapsulate this really quickly. This is also going to be a little bit tricky to do perfectly. I'm trying to not destroy stuff that's going to let my duplicates have access to this. So we can just do something like this for our basin of water. I'll cancel this. Then I'll deconstruct these ladders really quickly so we can drop the steam turbine here. You probably really only need one. This does produce a good amount of heat, but it's also a gas. And gases don't produce nearly as much heat as liquids. Or they're just not as dense. So I should only need one steam turbine. So I'll just set it up right here. We're going to need water into this chamber, so let's grab that line, which looks like it's right here. There we go. We'll set up the steam turbine very simply, just to drain back into the same place. We will need to vacuum this out, so again, a steel pump. Something like this. gonna put this on automation also. And by that, I just mean a regular switch. I'll probably also want to put this on a regular switch too, but we need more automation for when to pump the hydrogen out of here. So what I want to do is, first, we're going to need a mechanized airlock so that we can close this when the thing is too hot. If we just let it pump, we may get to a point where it overheats the steel pump here, so I definitely want to prevent it from doing that. So first of all, let's hook up a manual switch to this so that we can turn it on and off when we want to. Let's turn this off. Water, it doesn't really matter how much you want to get in here, so I'll probably, again, go up to about 300-400 kilograms before I'll close this up. The rest of this too... Oh, sorry, let me finish up the automation we want here. So I want to make sure that it's worth pumping out, so I'm going to put a pressure sensor here. I'm also going to put a thermo sensor, so I want to make sure that the hydrogen has cooled enough by interacting with the water/steam before we pump it out. And then I need both of those to be good before I'm able to open this door. Once that door is open, it'll obviously expose the gas to the pump, and then the pump will be able to pump it out into what we're going to build up here. So, up here, we're just going to build something simple. It's just going to have some insulated tiles all the way around it. And yeah, this is kind of in the way a little bit, but that's fine. I'm not planning on using this. This is a infectious polluted oxygen vent. We have plenty of oxygen production elsewhere, so I'm not really going to worry about that. Then I'm just going to enclose the rest of this. The rest of this is going to contain things like tanks to hold the hydrogen and the hydrogen generators themselves. And if there's any lines in here that I might need to maintain, I might want to worry about that now. So like, there's a bunch of lines that are kind of in the way. So I'm going to move those. Let's just go ahead and do that now. Because I don't want stuff that's inside this room, and I don't want to have to open it up for something so trivial. Same thing with any of our power lines. So like, these power lines are definitely not in a great place, so I'll just kind of reroute them like that. And then... is this all connected? Man, this is connected so weird because once you delete all the stuff that used to be in one area, it looks like you have no idea what you're doing because all the stuff is just like in places that makes no sense. Like you wouldn't draw a big squiggly line to connect two power lines like that, but pretty funny. Lastly, we're going to need to reroute our water. Maybe we'll just wait until this is about all filled up, but we'll get the pipe ready anyway. So this is going to be a pipe for drainage. This is going to be to send any water back that we want cleaned. So it was coming from down here. Just draw it up like this, kind of refit it in there. And this is going to go up like that. Not really necessary to do that far, but I just want to make it nice and neat. Water line, going to come down like that. There we go. Then the easiest way to get this drained like that is basically to disconnect it at 1 or 2 points. So I'm just going to disconnect it down at the bottom. And maybe one at the top here. And it will create a little bit of water, but at least it won't be as bad as draining the entire pipe. So the rest of this we can get out of there. I'll just replace that really quickly so we can drain the rest of that pipe. I don't think I've shown this before, which is kind of why I'm going into detail on how to reroute some of these pipes and stuff. So there we go. One side's drained. We'll go ahead and get that out of the way. Then we'll get the other one. So yeah, room's nice and clear. Plus, we're going to want to run new pipes here anyway. So yeah. To get that built. Alright, so the contents of this room is going to be a bunch of things. But mostly it's going to be our generators and tanks. So I'm just going to throw a couple of generators down. It can be, you know, 3, 4, 5, however many you think that you need. That'll sound pretty good. Throw that down there. Just going to use that. I'm going to also keep a ladder in here just in case I need to come in and maintain it anywhere. I can just crack it at one point. I could also just put a door here because this room's going to be relatively cooled off. So I'll destroy these ladders too. Then the rest of these, I'm definitely just going to want some gas reservoirs, because if I don't want to have to spend any more power getting this pumped, then I won't. So, yeah. The other thing too, actually, I will still want this ladder, but I am going to wall this off, because if I want to get back in here, I should really just liquid lock it and kind of come down here. So that'll be the plan. And then because we can fit more in here, I'm going to make these levels a little bit shorter. Like this. Delete all the extra ladders that are in the way. We're going to need a smart battery in here too, because we don't want this running all the time. We just want it running when it's actually needed. So we'll have to fit that in here too. Looks like we can maybe fit it up here. Nice. Bert just got himself stuck. Won't really be able to get up there though. I guess we'll just leave a space for a ladder there. And again, there's no real, like, perfect way to do this, and you don't have to be, like, overly particular about it either. You can just kind of do whatever suits you at the time. I mean, it's like, you can obsess over the small little details about this, but ultimately, once you finish it and once it's working, it doesn't really matter as long as it's doing what it's supposed to do. Okay, let's do this. Video's getting a little bit long. I will drop all these buildings, I'll get it all refined up, I'll get this vacuumed out, and by then, we will be ready to go with getting it started. So, let me just fast forward a little bit, and we'll see it in action. Okay, made some progress, and we're about ready to turn this thing on. The one thing I'm going to be looking out for is making sure that this is not overpressured when it's time to dig it out, so we'll wait for that to stop, and as soon as it does stop, we'll get in there, dig it out, and close this all up, and we should be good. So, the one thing that I want to make sure is that I'm not sending any hydrogen in here unless it's above a certain pressure that is worth pumping out, so let's say like 500 grams. Also, we want to make sure that it is below a certain temperature, so it's not too hot by the time it hits our pump. We want as much of it as possible to exchange temperatures in here. I'll go through all the piping in just a minute, but let's say below, I don't know, 200 Celsius. Most of the time it will be, just because of the nature of the steam. The gas pump can handle up to 275, but afterwards, after I pump it, it's just going to be sneaking through here anyway, before it will, like, to exchange as much temperature as possible with the steam. So that'll take care of the rest if it's not already that warm by then, or that cool. The next thing I need to do after it gets pumped out is I need it to run up through all these tanks first. You want it to run through, well, yes, we want it to run through all the tanks first, like so. And then continuing down that line, if there's still more to go, let me actually redo this just a little bit. If there's still more to go, I want it to eventually vent out into my base as the very last option. So it should fill up all these tanks first before hitting this vent and finally coming out into the room if we need to. Then, the way that we want to set it up for consumption is I will want to start from basically the same place. So I'll start here on this tank. I'm just going to draw it through every tank's output like this. And then I'm going to run it through the pump last, so that the pump will be our last resort if we need more hydrogen to get out of there. And the wire, or the piping is going to look a little bit messy, but that's fine. So we got this. Finally, we're going to run through our gas pump like this. I need to filter it to make sure that we're actually using hydrogen. So, same thing as we've done a bunch of times before, just going to use a gas shutoff, and if it's an element that I don't like, as in something that's not hydrogen, I'll just blow it right here out of my base. And then I want the gas pipe element sensor right before that, but I want it hooked up to a NOT gate because I want to get rid of anything that is not hydrogen. So something like this. There we go. And then what should basically pass this check is only hydrogen. So the rest of this, I'm going to want to go down into my generators. So we'll run it through. And this one doesn't need to all be one straight line. It could be split up quite a bit. After you can prove that it is something that's good to use. Oh, wow, this is a mess. How am I going to get over there? Let's see. We could do this better. Let's go up here on this one. Whoops, we don't want to deconstruct that one. There, this should be better now. Gonna finish off the pipes. And we're already pumping this at a time we don't really want to. I should have put this on some automation, so let's do that now. Because I'm damaging my generators from going too fast. So we'll get those fixed up. It won't be too big of a deal. Alright, and then finally we're going to go into here. So the only other thing that I still have to do is make sure this is done pumping out. I'm going to cancel that. We need to make sure that this is set up to hydrogen, like that. We will want power for it. There we go. And then let's turn this pump off so it stops pumping until we're ready. The last thing you need to make sure you hook up is getting this automation wire hooked up to all your generators and to your steam turbine, because I only really want these things to be running if there is a need for power. So I set it up to the same thing that we've been doing with a lot of our renewable power sources at 90-30. So if we actually need it, that's when it'll be running. Is this ready to be dug out? Not quite yet. This first pass will also not be that hot, so if I just dig it out and run away really fast, I think I should be fine. Almost ready to seal all this stuff up and see this in action, though. And now that we have this filtration system done, as soon as I close these walls, I will turn on that pump too. So, our settings look like they're good. Above 500 grams, below 200 C. Yeah, let's just dig it out, and we'll get a little bit of a mess going on here, but because I'm coming in from the bottom, the hydrogen shouldn't be lost. So we'll just get this in here really fast, and then get my duplicants out of here. Once they do that, I'll give them some pointless job so that they all get out of this room, because sometimes if there's nothing else to do, they will just idle in place. So yeah, here we go. It's probably going to start. Once I dig out this tile specifically, it's going to start. So there we go. Now we'll get our duplicants out of here. We'll have them just do something dumb, just to get out of the way. There we go. Now that they're out, I can prioritize this pretty high, and we should be ready. We'll close off the rest of this. And it stops right after I dig it out. Alright, we don't actually need to build these ladders, so... Stop. Okay, there. That's pretty much it. I will flip this switch on, and it will start vacuuming out any of the remaining oxygen that's in here. Only because this pump will be on and won't have anything else to do. But once hydrogen starts getting into the system, we will basically just get free power from this hydrogen vent now. Like we typically do, I'll check back once it's actually running and doing something in the next video. And by the next video, just to kind of give you an idea of what we're going to be doing, we're finally going to be breaching the surface and heading out here to start getting our progress done on our rockets and stuff like that. In the meantime, I've been draining a bunch of water out of the way so I can start walling this off and setting up for a place to launch rockets. So once we have those two things, that'll officially kind of be like the late game. Which is where we're just going to be finishing up our last few tasks. If you check out on your board here, all I need to do is make sure that I have 16 morale, build a great monument, and breach the temporal tear. The other two we've already done, which is our duplicant count and surviving 200 cycles. So yeah, once we check off all these things, I'm going to consider ourselves done, because there's not really anything else the game is telling us to do. So that'll be that. I'll be back with in just a little bit to start breaching the surface and when our hydrogen vent is all up and running. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you back here really soon.